Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to our Tafseer class. We're doing the kitab known as Al-Jami'u li Ahkam al-Quran, better known as Tafseer al-Qurtubi, and we are still busy with the Tafseer of Surah al-Mutaffifin, still in the beginning basically, on ayah number 3, and we had ended on this point last week inshallah ta'ala, so we're starting today from the top of page 134 of volume 22. So let us begin. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. So he continues, he says, وقال مالك بن دينار دخلت على جار لي قد نزل به الموت. Imam Malik ibn Dinar, he mentions that I entered upon one of my neighbors and he was like on his deathbed. فجعل يقول جبلين من نار جبلين من نار. And Imam Malik ibn Dinar says that this neighbor of mine, he was saying, two mountains of fire, two mountains of fire. فقلت ما تقول أتهجر. So Imam Malik ibn Dinar, he said, I said to him, what are you saying? Are you going somewhere? So قال يا أبا يحيى كان لي مكيالان أكيل بأحدهما وأكتال بالآخر فقمت فجعلت أضرب أحدهما بالآخر حتى كسرتهما فقال يا أبا يحيى كلما ضربت أحدهما بالآخر ازداد عظما فمات من وجعه. So he says that he replied to Imam Malik ibn Dinar. He said, "Oh Abu Yahya, that's his kunya. Imam Malik's kunya. Oh Abu Yahya, I had two mikyal. In other words, I had like you have your weight and your measure. So I had like two scales, so to speak, or two bowls to scoop with. So akilu bi ahadima wa aktalu bil akhar. Both of it are supposed to be, to use in our terms, let's say, for example, it's supposed to be a 500 ml cup that you are dishing with. So both of them were supposed to be like that, but one in reality was like, say, 600 ml, and the other one was like 400 ml. So akilu bi ahadima wa aktalu bil akhar. So when I used to take from people, in other words, you like, I'm using our modern terminology. So it's like everyone's entitled to 500 ml. Let's say, for example, soup. Now, people are dishing out soup. So it's like everyone must come in and fill your container. So now you come along with your 500 ml. So you dish, but you brought one which is actually 600 ml. It resembles the 500, so nobody knows any different because it's not like set standard printed. Made a million of them. Everything was handmade, so there was always the possibility that it can slip past because every country, everybody had their own things in their own shapes. So nonetheless, so he would come, when he would take for himself, he would bring the bigger one. And wa'aktalu bil akhar, when he had to now give for other people, for example, when it was his turn to now be handing out, for example, then he would use the 400 ml. There you go, there you go, there you go. I come and buy from you. In certain countries of the world where stuff are all on the outside, like in let's say, for example, I haven't been there, so I'm speaking here under assumption based on pictures and stuff, but nonetheless, you see in certain countries, Turkey and India and Syria back in the day and stuff of the sort, and all the spices and the stuff are all laying like that outside. So they work on a measure what the like you dish 4 cups full. So now you come with your cup. Okay, how much is it? It's 50 rand a scoop. Okay, I got my scoop. So now you scoop 1, 2, 3, 4. But like I said, your scoop is 600 gram, whereas you were supposed to be using a 500 gram scoop. So that's what happened. Then when it comes and you go back now to your stall and somebody come to you, how much is it? It's 200 lira a scoop. Okay, give me 4 scoops. Then you take your 400 gram scoop and you dish 4. So you gave him 1.6 kg, whereas he was supposed to have gotten 2 kg. You gave with a small one. So akilu bi ahadihima wa aktalu bil akhar. I use a bigger one for myself and a small one for others. That's what it simply means. So فقمت فجعلت أضرب أحدهما بالآخر. So I stood up and I hit the one against the other one and حتى كسرتهما until I had broken them both. فقال يا أبا يحيى, so he said, oh Abu Yahya, every time I hit the one who against the other, ازداد عظاما. Every time I struck the one against the other, the one, let's call it the one bowl against the other bowl, then ازداد عظاما. The size of it, in other words, the size of these mountains of fire, they increased. So that's what he's basically referring to. فمات من وجعه. So as a result, and then anyway, he related this thing, and he died of the pain that he was experiencing. Just give me 1 second over here. Not a second, give me a minute, please, I should say. Okay, carry on. He says, وقال عكرمة أشهد على كل كيال أو وزان أنه في النار. قيل له فإن ابنك كيال أو وزان. فقال أشهد أنه في النار. Now Imam Ikrima, he said, he made a statement one day. He said, I take an oath that every kayyal or wazan, meaning a person who rubs on the scale by weight or measure, that he's in the fire of Jahannam. So it was said, your son, he's either a kayyal or wazan, meaning he's rubbing either weight or measure, one of the two. So then he said, Ashhadu annahu finar. Then I take an oath that he is in the fire. In other words, what is simply meaning here, it's not that I believed the first story that came to me. No, it was more a case that anybody who is guilty of it, it applies to anyone. It's the contrary to how it works in today's time. Who are you? How dare you speak about my family? My family have exemptions, and people have that sort of ideas and things today, but not amongst the ulama of the past. So it was like, if my son does it, then my son is in Jahannam. If my father does it, then my father's in Jahannam. That's the way they looked upon things. It wasn't a case to be ooh and ah about. That's the rule. If you break the rule, if you do the crime, you do the time. So anyway, he made that statement just simply to emphasize the importance that regardless of who it is, if you are a person guilty of this, you will be taken to task for it. قال الأصمعي وسمعت أعرابيا تقول لا تلتمس المروءة ممن مروءته في رؤوس المكاييل ولا ألسنة الموازين. وروي ذلك عن علي رضي الله عنه. Okay, Imam al-Asma'i, he said that I heard an Arabi saying لا تلتمس المروءة ممن مروءته في رؤوس المكاييل ولا ألسنة الموازين. Okay, he's speaking more from a poetic sense, let's call it that. So let's move on. It's reported from Hadra Ali radiallahu anhu as well, but the next one will put it in a easier way to understand. وقال عبد خير مر علي رضي الله عنه على رجل وهو يزن الزعفران وقد أرجح فأكفأ الميزان ثم قال أقم الوزن بالقسط ثم أرجح بعد ذلك ما شئت كأنه أمره بالتسوية أولا ليعتادها ويفصل الواجب من النفل. He says, Imam Abdul Khair, he said that Hadrat Ali radiallahu anhu once passed by a man and he was weighing out saffron, za'afaran, وَقَدْ أَرْجَحَ. So in other words, this was a good business person. He gave more than what he was required. The person is taking a kg, he was putting in, for example, 1.1 kg, to put it that way. So Hadrat Ali radiallahu anhu came by and he saw that he put in more than what was necessary. So Hadrat Ali radiallahu anhu emptied out the scale, he tilted it, in other words, threw the rest out, made it to 1 kg, for example, and then said, Aqimil wazna bil qist. That put in other words, be just. What his meaning is, put it the way it's supposed to be. If you want 1 kg, then make it 1 kg. ثم أرجح بعد ذلك ما شئت. Thereafter, after you've reached the 1 kg now you can put a little bit extra by if you want to. Don't make it seem like, it's a subtle point. When you used to go back in the day with the butcheries, and the butchery would be, for example, they cutting your polony over there or whatever it is, some mince, for example, and they put it on the scale, and it comes to you're supposed to, for example, take like I say, a kg of polony, for example. Now it goes oh, let me not put it in the kg. Let me use it in the terms that it was used in South Africa. A person goes, I want 100 rands polony. Okay, so they cut your polony and they put it on there, and then it comes to 99 rand. Now, sometimes people would leave it like that and charge you 99 rand. But then some would take it, okay, it reached just about 100, then they put 2-3 extra slices of polony on, it makes it 105 rand. They say 100 rand for you. That sort of thing. So they make it to the amount, then they add the extras. It's a different case to a person comes to you for example, a kg, and you give him a 1.1 kg. He doesn't even know you're giving him more. So then next time, if you were to actually give him a 1 kg, it's like, why does this feel slightly less than before? So it's got subtleties to it. But nonetheless, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu told him كأنه أمره بالتسوية أولا, as if he had commanded him to first make it level, and then so that this is the norm, and then you can add on like a nafil, something optional from your side. If you want to give him 1.1 kg, 1.2 kg, 1.10 kg, whatever, but then you can add on something extra. But let it not be the opposite. If you did do it, it would not have been a crime. But nonetheless, if you do it in this manner, then the person also know he has given me more than what I was actually required. And let's put it this way, from another subtlety is that the person who knows that you have made his thing equal, that I asked for 100, he put 100, then I saw him put extra. Then in the mind of that person, every last person who sees this happen, they will say he's a good person on the scales. Nobody will question your integrity on the scale. But if you come and you just put like that, then you do have the people, there's always a person who's unhappy, and then they'll come and say, hey, well, he robs on the scale. They all are like that. But they will say, no, this person, I know, I've seen it too many times. He adds in extra. He's a trustworthy person. But anyway, that's a small subtle point. وقال نافع كان ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما يمر بالبايع فيقول اتق الله وأوفي الكيل والوزن بالقسط فإن المطففين يوم القيامة يوقفون حتى إن العرق لا يلجمهم إلى أنصاف آذانهم. Imam Nafi', freed slave of Hadrat Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, he said that Hadrat Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma used to, pass through the marketplace, in other words, and he would pass by a person who's selling, and he would say, ittaqillaha wa awfil kayla wal wazna bil qist. Fear Allah and fulfill the scales and the weight and measure. When you are giving, give it the way it's supposed to be. Don't steal, don't rub on the scales. Because the mutaffifin on the day of Qiyamah, they will be made to stand. Hatta inna al-araqa. Now, as you know, on the day of Qiyamah, the sun will be brought above a person's head, and depending on the level of a person's sun, that's how much sweat he will be in. So some people will be sweating till the ankles, some people will be swimming in their sweat. So it says that Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he said that the sweat of a person who is from the mutaffifin, it will take him until the middle of his ears. In other words, think of it as being in your own little bubble. Everybody is there, the whole world is there, but it's not like your sweat is running off and flowing all over the floor there. No, your sweat will affect you like the next one's sweat will affect him. So your sweat, you will sweat so much that you will be in this invisible bubble where you are literally almost drowning in your sweat, because it has even covered your mouth to have reached the middle of your ears. That's how, in other words, like I said, depending on the level of your sin, that's how deep you'll be in your sweat on the day of Qiyamah. So if it has taken you till the middle of your ears, you are like 95% in a bad position, to put it that way. وقد روي أن أبا هريرة رضي الله عنه قدم المدينة وقد خرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى خيبر واستخلف على المدينة سباع بن عرفطة رضي الله عنه. It's narrated that Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he came to Medina and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam had gone out to the battle of Khaybar. واستخلف على المدينة. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم left Hazrat Sibaa ibn Urfuta radiallahu anhu in charge of Medina. So Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu came in. فوجدناه في صلاة الصبح. He said when he came in, he found Hazrat Sibaa radiallahu anhu performing the Fajr Salah. فقرأ في الركعة الأولى كاف ها يا عين صاد. He was reading كاف ها يا عين صاد. That was the surah he was reading the first rak'ah of Fajr. وقرأ في الركعة الثانية. And in the second rak'ah he started reading ويل للمطففين. So قال أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه فأقول في صلاتي ويل لأبي فلان كان له مكيالان إذا اكتال بالوافي وإذا كال بالناقص. So while Hazrat Sibaa ibn Urfuta radiallahu anhu was reading this second rak'ah and he was reading Wailul lil Mutaffifin, Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he said, I was thinking, فَأَقُولُ فِي صَلَاتِي. He wasn't speaking. In other words, he was saying, I was saying in my mind, I was thinking to myself, in other words, how we would say. So I was thinking to myself in my salah, وَيْلٌ لِأَبِي فُلَانٍ. The ayah say, وَيْلُ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ. Woe to the mutaffifin. So I was saying, woe to that man. I know that man. كان له مكيالان. He's got two dishes that he dish with. اكتال بالوافي. When he comes to dish for himself, he takes the full measurement. وإذا كال بالناقص. But when he comes to dish for others, when you come to buy from him, he gives you less. So he takes his full amount, but he gives you less than what you are supposed to be getting. So in other words, Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu was saying, the thought crossed my mind. That person over there, he is one of the mutaffifin. The ayah is saying woe to them, and I know actually somebody who's like that. Not our way today. It wasn't the case of passing the buck. Today people will listen to a lecture and it will be saying A, B, C, D, E is bad. And the person will think, I know somebody who's engaging in A, B, C, D, and E. It's not me. Even though this person got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right down till Z. He's got the whole alphabet on his plate over there, but he's like, I see it in others. It wasn't the case of that. It was the case that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum looked at the Quran literally, let's put it this way. They loved the Quran. So if an ayah was there, they understood it, they applied it, they took lesson from it. So Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu was from the poorest of the poorest of the poor. He used to faint from hunger because so much time would go by and he would not have a drop of water even to drink. That's the poverty state that Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu was in during the lifetime of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there was never a case of him being a case of rubbing on the scales because he had nothing in the first place. So there was not a case of him taking more and giving less. So obviously it wasn't applying to him. So he was looking at how does this work, and the thought crosses his mind, I actually do know somebody who does this. Allah is condemning it and I know somebody. It was taken along that way. Had it been a case of a Sahabi who was actually dealing with weights and measure, then he would have been putting it at himself first, that am I guilty of this? That's how they would look upon it. In today's time, like I say, we do it the opposite way around. We look at it to find it in somebody else, always except in our own self. But anyway, that's finally the end of the tafsir of ayah number 3. We can move on now finally to the next set of ayat. So he says, قوله تعالى ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون ليوم عظيم يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين. So the next 3 ayat of the surah, Allah says, ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون. Do these people not think that they will be resurrected? ليوم عظيم, for a great, tremendous day. يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين. That day when people will be made to stand in front of Allah, the Lord of the worlds. In other words, on the day of Qiyamah. Do you think you're not going to be resurrected and have to stand on the day of Qiyamah and answer for your deeds? That's basically what the ayat are saying in a nutshell. So we can move on to the tafsir now. He says, قوله تعالى ألا يظن أولئك إنكار وتعجيب عظيم من حالهم في الاجتراء على التطفيف كأنهم لا يخطرون ببالهم ولا يخمنون التخمين أنهم مبعوثون فمسؤولون عما يفعلون. وظن هنا بمعنى اليقين، أي لا يوقن أولئك ولو أيقنوا ما نقصوا في الكيل والوزن. Okay, so he starts, he says, ألا يظن أولئك. Do these people not think? And we can explain that part later on. He says, so firstly, it is an inkar wa ta'jibun azim. It is like a rhetorical question. It is a rejection and a refutation and a statement of amazement, in other words, about the state of these people. How can they actually do tatfif, mutaffifin, to rub on the scales? كأنهم لا يخطرون ببالهم. As if such a thought does not cross their mind at all أنهم مبعوثون, that they are going to be resurrected. فمسؤولون عما يفعلون, and that they will be questioned about what they had done. وظن, so ظن means to think, don't they think? But he says ظن in this ayah is in the meaning of yaqeen. Yaqeen, as you know, means certainty. So he says what it actually means is لا يوقن أولئك. These people don't have a belief of certainty that they will be resurrected. ولو أيقنوا, had they had certainty in the fact that they would be resurrected, ما نقصوا في الكيل والوزن. They would never have robbed in weight and measure, because they know I'm going to be resurrected. And sadly, you find it, like I say, happening even amongst Muslims. And why is this? We do it when we become negligent and heedless of the fact that we too will be resurrected. So that's why Allah says, do you not think that you are going to be resurrected and you're going to be asked and questioned about this? So Imam Al-Qurtubi says, if you were certain, if you had that certainty that yes, this is going to happen, you would not do it. If today a person know with certainty the police are outside, they got a camera on me, they will not do a crime, because they know with certainty they'll be caught. I'm on camera. But when you feel, hey, what's going to happen? Everybody's corrupt. No, the camera isn't even working in South Africa. It's load shedding. So, nothing's going on. Then people don't mind and they go ahead and do whatever they want to. So anyway, وقيل الظن بمعنى التردد، أي إن كانوا لا يستيقنون بالبعث فهلا ظنوه حتى يتدبروا ويبحثوا عنه ويأخذوا بالأحوط ليوم عظيم شأنه وهو يوم القيامة. So he says, another interpretation over here, you can take it one, instead of taking it in the meaning of yaqeen, you can take it in the meaning of taraddud. Taraddud means that, that like doubt, in other words. So don't they even doubt and think I shouldn't say doubt, I would say, don't they even, does it sort not even cross their mind? So what it actually then means is إن كانوا لا يستيقنون بالبعث. If they are not believing in the fact that they will be resurrected, فهلا ظنوه, then why don't they even just give it a thought? Like we would say, think about it at least. I know you're not going to do it, but at least think about it. That sort of thing. So Imam Al-Qurtubi is saying, the way that you can get from this ayah as well is that it's saying, if these people are not believing in the resurrection and they're not believing in it, then why don't they at least consider the thought that perhaps it is true? And if they were to think that perhaps it is true, then what are you going to do when you've been robbing on the scales? That's what it is. So يتدبر ويبحث عنه. Then if you were to come to think even about the fact that you're going to stand in front of Allah to answer, and I'm not going to have an answer, then ويأخذ بالأحوط. Then in that case, despite not believing in the fact that you'll be resurrected, at least the fact that you are thinking about standing in front of Allah, it will make you think twice and you will turn away from robbing on the scales. Why? ليوم عظيم. Because the state of affairs on that day, that it is a great, serious, tremendous day. And وهو يوم القيامة, it's referring to the day of Qiyamah. Okay, time is running short, so let's do a little bit and then we'll stop on that point, inshallah. It says قوله تعالى يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين. فيه 4 مسائل. He says with regards to the next ayah, that day when the people will stand in front of Allah, the Lord of the worlds. He says there are 4 masail, 4 issues he wants to touch upon. Al-Ula, the first one. العامل في يوم فعل مضارع فعل مضمر دل عليه مبعوثون، والمعنى يبعثون يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين. ويجوز أن يكون بدلا من يوم في ليوم عظيم وهو مبني، وقيل هو في موضع خفض لأنه أضيف إلى غير متمكن، وقيل هو منصوب على ظرف أي في يوم، ويقال أقم إلى يوم يخرج فلان فتنصب يوم فتنصب يوما، فإن أضافوا إلى الاسم فحينئذ يخفضون ويقولون أقم إلى يوم خروج فلان. وقيل في الكلام تقديم وتأخير، والتقدير إنهم مبعوثون يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين ليوم عظيم. Okay, the whole entire first point is linguistics. So he's not playing with words at all, but it's showing how from a linguistic perspective you can look at it in different ways. So يوم, why is it ليوم عظيم يوم يقوم الناس? Now, I always make mention of this fact. We do the Arabic Medina Arabic course, and by default a word starts with a dhamma and something has to affect it for a sentence to start and not have a dhamma. So why is the ayah beginning as yawma when by default it should be yawmu, for example? So therefore you say you can take it in the case that it is actually دل عليه مبعوثون. ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون. In other words, what it means is, do they not think that they will be resurrected on that day when the people will stand in front of Allah, the Lord of the worlds? That's what it comes down to. So it can also be taken that ليوم عظيم. So therefore, for يوم عظيم, and okay, that's when you're taking it mabni and mu'arab and mabni. Your linguistics, we're going to skip all of the linguistics over here. Okay, in other words, let's skip all of the linguistics, or we'll end up spending the whole time turning around over here trying to put it in a way when English don't even have a way to distinguish between a dharf and a mansubun ala nazi'i al-khafid and everything else. So in other words, what it's simply saying, showing is the different ways of linguistic, why the word is yoma, and how the various meaning. In all cases, yoma, 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 yoma. But is it going back to yubathun? Is it going back to liyomin azim? That's yom over here, and that sort of thing. So anyway, so another opinion here, it is taqdim and ta'khir, that taqdir is innahum mab'uthuna, they will be resurrected on the day when the people will stand in front of the Lord of the Rabbil Alameen, in front of Allah, the Lord of the worlds, which will be for a tremendous day. So, in other words, they're saying that يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين ليوم عظيم. In other words, putting ayah number 3 in the place of ayah number 2 and ayah number 2 in the place of ayah number 3. It's linguistics. They're not just shifting the ayat around. Linguistically, just showing that you can take the meaning as if it is that way without going against anything of the ayah itself. I know that probably sounded like a most confusing thing in the entire world, but it's linguistics that unless you are knowing the terms of nahu and stuff like this here, it wouldn't make any sense. But anyway, we don't exactly have more time to do the second point, because it's 2 paragraphs and our time is too short for that. So we'll stop on this point here for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. We'll continue again next week. But until that time, we end for now and we say, وَصَلَى اللَّهُ وَسَلَّمَ وَبَارَكَ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ سُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ سُبْحَانَكَ اللَّهُمَّ وَبِحَمْدِكَ نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.